Hey,
Good evening.
good evening. How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Good, good. Oh, the accent. Oh, every time I hear somebody from back home, I'm like, oh.
Yay, I miss it, huh?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just go ahead and give every couple of heads ups, right? First
Okay.
thing, if y'all joining us, and you have any questions for myself or for Coach Erica, put it into the question mark box down to the side if you don't want it to get lost in the comments that are scrolling through. And the other thing that I want to warn y'all about is because she's from back home, if my accent starts to change a little bit, don't be shocked. So because that always happens. Like I'll be on the phone with one of my family members or something, and my daughters will call me out real quick, like, "Mama, your accent, your
It's
accent
coming
came
back.
back." Oh yeah, my full service beat it out of me, but it's still there a little bit every now and then. So
Yes.
first of all, I want to say thank you so much, Erica, for joining me, for agreeing to do this. And I think if anybody has paid attention to any of the lives that I do, one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about is healthy relationships, regardless of what those relationships are. But I think, you and I are going to focus a little bit more so on romantic relationships this evening. But for
Okay.
those who do not know who you are, what you're about, here is your introduction. Go ahead and let everybody know who Coach Erica is.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. My name is Erica Warren. I am a relationship coach, specializing in women's topics. So I help women in the areas of self-love, life purpose, dating coaching, and breakup recovery. So those are the four areas that I help women. Those are the four areas that I had the most challenges with and struggled the most throughout my life. So I felt that, my experiences and the way that I overcame those things would really help other women in those areas. And I'm really passionate about um, using what I know to help other women avoid a lot of the pitfalls and mistakes that I made so that they can get to the goal of having a healthy relationship far sooner than what I did.
So I thank you for going, and giving us that quick synopsis. So now I'm gonna go ahead and dig in a little bit more, right? So you
Okay.
said that, these are things that you're passionate about, and these are things that you learned, in essence, I guess, trial by error, having to go through things
Yes,
on your own. And that's kind of what led the path of you wanting to become a relationship coach and specializing in the areas that you do. So
correct.
historically, like what did relationships look like for you prior to, I guess, you being able to kind of compile all of this information and pass it on to other people? Like what were you going through and what led you to this place?
I had a series of unhealthy, toxic relationships, a lot of one-sided relationships, a lot of me searching for love in all the wrong places and all the wrong kinds of men, a lot of me giving and giving and giving and not getting anything back in return, chasing love,
Mm-hmm.
because, I had to realize that not having my father in my life played a huge role in the way that I showed up in relationships, and I was chasing the love from men, but subconsciously chasing love from my father, and that set me up for a lot of heartbreak and disappointment, but continuously repeating the same cycle over and over again until I stepped back and looked at myself and realized that I was a broken person, and I was, attracting other broken people, and so many people find themselves in that same toxic pattern, and they don't even realize that they're actually the common denominator in there.
When you reference one-sided love, because I mean people can take that, in a multitude of ways, right?
Mhm.
When you say you found yourself in one-sided relationships, what did those relationships look like? What did one-sided love look like to you?
Well, it started out great. So this will kind of give you a picture of how narcissists draw you in. So I was always a prime victim for a narcissist. So they recognize my low self-esteem and my hunger to have that love, and so what they do is love bomb you. They They show you all the things that you want to see. They tell you all the things that you want to hear. They promise you the moon, the stars, and the sun and the future. And that is all you've been wanting to hear. So you fall so head over heels in love in a real short period of time. And then that's when they pull the wool, from over your eyes and show you this is the real me. But you've already fallen in love with the fantasy of that person. And now you just cannot let go. And so you're constantly chasing, trying to get that person back that you met in the beginning. And that seemed to be the same pattern that I was falling into in all of my relationships, was falling head over heels in love with the fantasy, the representative, and then finding out that that wasn't even the real them, but still hanging in there, trying to get that person back.
And, there's a couple of things that you mentioned that I want to speak on. First of all, I think that narcissism is a very real issue. I also believe that it is oftentimes used interchangeably with a narcissist and people just being plain old assholes and being mean.
Yes.
Because there are blatant and evident signs of somebody who is a narcissist. And a lot of the times what people are talking about is somebody who is just self-centered. They're a self-centered person, or they're a selfish person, but they're the other characteristics of being a narcissist, they don't necessarily fall in line with that. The other thing that you spoke on was you falling in love with the fantasy. You falling in love with the idea of what they had shown you, possibly manifesting, possibly showing up one day, and hanging on to those relationships. And I think a lot of us get caught up, and and I don't necessarily want to consider that a weakness, because I don't believe that hopefulness should be considered a weakness, because that's what it really is. It's hoping that, oh, this is going to come to fruition. All of these things that he or she talked to me about, it's going to happen. Okay, it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen. Whenever all of the signs are saying, it ain't never going to
yes,
it's not going to show up. And as women, a lot of us find ourselves in the position of that, something that I think is inherently in a lot of us, that nurturer. Right? Yes. You want to believe that everything that this man has promised you, everything that this person has said that they want to do and be for you, oh, they can do it and be it. It's just, I need to help them get there. I need to be a certain way for them to get to that place. And that cannot be further from the truth. So it's the nurturing, it's the desire to fix. Right?
And coupled with, if you're a person who deals with abandonment issues and rejection issues, you will internalize that, and you will think that the person that they was, when I met them, they changed because of something that I did. And so I need to fix myself. I need to change myself, or I need to do something to make them treat me the way they were treating me before, when that was just to get you in. They never had any intentions of continuing that behavior.
It's just like whenever you go onto a car lot, right? A used car lot. They have a ton of cars out there, and they can all make those cars look all bright and shiny and new and perfect. And whenever you go on that nice little test drive, you're like, oh, this is great. Okay, this 89 Honda Accord, like I ain't paying $10,000 for it. And you're like, okay. And as soon as you get off of the lot, you start hearing some, a little bit of shaking. You're like, oh no, that'll be all right. And you drive a little bit more, and then the wheel then fell off. And the next thing you know, you standing there with nothing but a bunch of pieces of brokenness. And it's the same thing in relationships, right? All of these signs are there. All of these little telltale things are there, but people call them red flags, but and I'm speaking from experience, and I'm speaking from, still from a place of trying to grow past wanting to fix and wanting to see the potential of somebody, and wanting because I'm that hopeful person. I want to believe the best about everybody. So you magnify the fact that, oh, this is a classic car. It'll be fine. No, it's not. Like, that thing, it needs to be put out to pasture.
Just let it go. Let it go.
and let it be used for parts, and that's it. But, that's something that a lot of us get into, is not paying attention to those red flags. So as far as romantic relationships in the early stages of dating, you know, you talk about a narcissist and love bombing. um One of the things that, you know, my stepmom, who I consider to be like one of my best friends, what she always talks to me about is just be friends, just take it slow, right? And I'm a Libra, I guess, through and through. I'm like, yes, let's go all in. And so, so you know, I want to just go ahead full throttle. But if you actually step back and take that time to, you know, I feel like now that I've kind of matured a little bit and recognized the reality of love and relationships, and, you know, the enduring type of love that I look for, or that I want, you you can't just throw everything all out there to begin with, you know, because then you're out of gas, right?
Yep.
And so that love bombing thing, I feel like that I'm at a point now to where that would be a red flag for me. If
Yes.
somebody came alongside and all of a sudden just wanted to throw everything on top of me, it would make me nervous, because
Yes.
I hear it so much. Love bombing, narcissist. And I'm like, wait, is he super passionate, or is this just him telling me, hey, this is, you know, my name is John Narcissist Williams, like,
Yeah.
and I'm not paying attention to it. So what are the red, like, some of the blatant red flags besides love bombing that you can speak of right now when it comes to relationships, and you're just starting out new in a relationship? What are some of the things that people need to be paying attention to?
Well, first of all, um, when you meet a man who wants to just skip past the friendship stage, skip past the dating phase, and just go straight into locking you into a relationship, that's a red flag because, and
So you just
especially if,
talked about the last 8 dudes that I met. Ugh.
oh, me too, honey.
Listen,
It's it's either you want to move too fast or they're too inconsistent and it ends up just wavering off.
mhm.
Um, but they want to rush you into a relationship. They want to lock you down. They want you to make a promise that y'all are being exclusive. That's a red flag because, you know, and especially once you voice to them that, you know, I want to be friends first and I want to build it up and get to know you, and they get agitated with you. And
Mhm.
it's like, so what are you irritated about? I said I want to build up a friendship with you. So that's a red flag because in a lot of times they want to condense the time frames so they can get you tied in before you find out who they really are. So
Mhm.
that's a major red flag. Another one is, you know, keeping you like being negative towards friends and family, you know, kind of picking apart your friendships, you know, or your family relationships, you know, and trying to plant seeds of negativity and doubt with all of your relationships because they're starting to try to isolate you because they want to be your all in all. They want to be your one and only. They want to be your world because once they feed you that narrative of who they are, you don't have any outside sources to, you know, give you anything different, to give
To
you
go
any
against
other.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my ex-husband was real good about that, trying to plant seeds of doubt in my head about my friends, my girlfriends, and you know my mom, even my mom, and I drew the line right there. So
We don't
that's
do that.
another.
Not about mama.
Yes, you don't come again, you don't come between. And what they'll do is once they move you away from all of your circle of friends, they will surround you with their circle. So now, you know, they have a circle of people who's really on their side and who has their best interest at heart. And they feel like, you know, they can control you and your whereabouts and how you think about them because they've surrounded you with all of their people.
Another thing that and I don't know if it's necessarily a red flag across the board, but it's something that I've noticed for myself, is whenever I find somebody who doesn't necessarily have, um, for lack of better terminology, have a life of their own, right? Like if they don't have their own hobbies, if they don't have their own friends and things, that they like to do on their own, whether it be their own individual private time or social time that they like, I realized that I don't necessarily enjoy those people very much because I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I feel like, I still want to maintain my individuality. And this is from somebody who is very relationship oriented. I very much
Mm-hmm.
believe in, the committed monogamous relationships. I still feel like there needs to be a sense of surety and individualism. Like they
Oh,
have to
yes.
be sure about who they are and if they, what they like, what they don't like. Because if not, then it becomes either a battle between the two of us of, no, but I want you to do this with me all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I have to be like meshed into his world, or vice versa. The things that I consider to be private and enjoyable for myself, beyond just girls night, if it's going to the gym, like
Mm-hmm.
right now, I like going to the gym by myself. That is my me time. And what
Right.
is he going to feel like now he has to be in my stuff too because he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have it for himself? So I think that's
Yes.
something else that we need to look out for whenever you're going in looking for relationships, is making sure that the individual that you're aligning yourself with, they have their own life and a
Yes.
full life of their own.
Yes. Because that's one big misconception that we, growing up and having this romanticized idea of what relationships are, we feel like two half people come together to make a whole, and that's dysfunctional. It sets you up for those codependent relationships. That sets you up for those narcissistic and empath relationships, because no person can be your all in all. And because once that relationship comes to an end, then you feel like the world has come to an end. And I've been in that situation where I made, the man that I was in a relationship, I made him everything to me. And then when it was over, I went through bouts of depression, just not wanting to, get up in the morning and do normal everyday things. Didn't want to go to work, didn't want to comb my hair, just didn't want to face life without this man in my life. And that's just a dangerous place to be in life. You never want to go into a relationship. You definitely want to be a whole person meeting another whole person. Because if you just bring a man into your life and he doesn't have anything going on in his life, that's a red flag to me, because it says that now he's latching on to me, and now I'm going to have to, center all of my moves around what he wants me to do,
My life
and
will
spend time
become,
with
in
him.
essence, my life and my existence will become a part of his identity, a part of
Yes.
his social DNA. Like that will become a
Hmm.
part of who he is. I was having a conversation with a friend as I was driving off from work today, and we got into the conversation. Like somewhere within the conversation, we started talking about this a similar topic, and I said that is that's a heavy burden to put
Ooh,
on another human being, a human being who has their own things, to make you happy, to make
yes.
and people think, oh well, no, that's what they're there for. They're here to make you happy. No, they're not. They're here to add
No,
to your happy. You
yes.
need to come to me all the way happy,
Already
all the way
happy.
all the way
Already.
together. And that goes into another point about the wholeness, right? So I've talked to a couple of my girlfriends about this, and I was like, you know what? I don't necessarily subscribe to you have to be 100% whole to go into a relationship. And what I'm not saying like you come there with all your traumas and all your brokenness, right? What
Right.
I'm saying is that I'll use myself as an example. I
Hmm.
know that I have trust issues. I know I
Hmm.
have trust issues simply because of the casual dating that I've done, and the lies and the things that I've caught
Hmm.
people in. And I'm like, dang, if they don't lie about casual stuff, like
Yeah.
if it's like I always say, if you lie about the big, you're gonna lie about. If you lie about the small, you're gonna lie about the big. So I just have this concern and this worry that, oh my goodness, oh Erica, we lost her. Let me see if we can get her to come back. Sorry about that. Not sure what is going on. We may have to drop and come back in. Oh, give me a second, y'all. Let me hold on and see if I can get her back in here. Thanks for being patient, y'all. Hey, lady.
We back.
We back. We back. But I was
You
talking
were
about,
making a good point too.
yeah, I was talking about, going into, like, I recognize those things about me. And these are things that I've been working with my therapist on, and, talking through things and recognizing where these issues come from, and having to let go of it, honestly. So I feel like it is very possible for me to go into a relationship or go into, any stage of a relationship, go into a connection with somebody, with the goal of being in a committed relationship. And one of the things I talked about was you can heal along the way. Yes. I feel like you can heal along the way if you are dealing with somebody who is mature enough and y'all have had these conversations to where they understand, hey, look, just as well as I am bringing children into the relationship, I am also bringing
yes.
some traumas that I am dealing with. It is not your responsibility to deal with it. Yes. It is mine, but I'm letting you know. And as an example, one of the last guys that I was talking to, one of the things that I told him was, I was like, hey, look, I'm telling you, I know I have trust issues, but you don't help those trust issues whenever there are simple things that you don't do. Whenever you're inconsistent, that triggers me, because I feel like, I'm extremely consistent. So why can't you be consistent? So, and there may have been nothing wrong with him at all, but his inability to be consistent is an unhealthy space for me. I recognize that, and I know, you know what, this is not going to be a healthy place for me to heal. So we're not going to do this, because it's just going to be, toxic along the entire way. I'm going to be stressing you out. You're going to be stressing me out. Let's not do this, because if somebody is supposed to be in a relationship as they're healing along the way, I feel like it won't be a struggle for them to heal along the way. So yes, we talk about being whole and being happy, and I'll be the first one to say I'm very happy with me. I love me some me. I enjoy the company of myself. Yes, plenty of days and nights. So it has nothing to do with that. I'm very happy. I know that there's a lack of wholeness, because there are some little cracks, little things, that I know are there. Right. The first step is we have to acknowledge it. We cannot walk around here acting like, oh, I'm good. No, you're not. Like, you bleeding all over the place. You're bleeding all over the place. So it's not just a cookie cutter statement of be happy and be whole. There's levels to it. But you have to recognize that wholeness is the goal. And whether wholeness happens on your own as an individual or wholeness happens along the way, wholeness needs to be the goal. And if your wholeness and your happiness aligns with the wholeness and happiness of that other individual, then go forth and prosper. Give me an invite to the wedding. I love cake.
Yes. And I like that comment. I like that comment on the screen when she says sometimes they will, the other one, she says some people are just not self-aware. And that's the bingo point right there, because just being self-aware, as long as you are self-aware of what your triggers are, of what your scars are, of what your wounds are, and you going into, the dating scene, and you're, building a connection with someone, and you realize what those are, and you're not projecting those onto that person, and you're making them aware of what your issues are. I don't think there's any such thing as 100% fully healed and whole, because every day you're living, you're learning, you're growing. So you're always going to be a work in progress. You just got to find someone. And this is the issue, is that, a lot of us women have come to that point where we're becoming more self-aware, and we're working on our healing. We're working on our traumas. But we need the men to step up on their end and work on theirs, because I can't work with you if you're not going to recognize your stuff, because now I'm carrying my stuff and your stuff, and I can't do that. You cannot be in a relationship with somebody and be their therapist too. It has to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Just like if I start a romantic relationship with my therapist, then I have compromised that relationship, and now that I can't do both, I have to choose one or the other. So we cannot be out here dating these men who need us to heal them. We can't do it.
Girl, don't make me show you screenshots because that, like, I literally had to have this same conversation with a different. Yes, y'all, I didn't have to cut everybody off, but it was the same thing. It was the text messages of, hey, so how's your day? Me, being sunshine and rainbows all day, and
Hmm.
it was just constantly the, oh well, it's okay. I'm like, well, what's wrong? Oh, just I'm like, well, it sounds to me like you don't need to talk to me. You need to talk to a therapist. And
Right.
this fool had the nerve to say, but I like having you. Like it
Oh,
was a
baby.
compliment.
So let me send you my invoice.
Right? Like,
You
you
know,
know what? I don't take insurance, sir.
yes, give me
Like, it's
cash.
direct pay. Here's my Venmo. Like,
Right.
but the thing is you have, and this statement of, well, that's just how I am. Okay, like I need
Ooh.
to understand, like, are some of these things your character traits, or are
Hmm.
these your traumatic traits? And if they are
Right.
your traumatic traits, that's not just the way you are.
Yes.
That's just the way you're accepting yourself to be.
Exactly.
We have to own and acknowledge, and it's not even what I find to be so humorous about stuff like that is that oftentimes the traumas that we're carrying around are not things that we've inflicted upon ourselves. So it's
Hmm.
not like it's a shame that, oh, this is what you did to yourself. No, this is something that you have gone through. This is something that you
Yes.
have endured, and it has left a mark on you that is making you leave marks on other people. So before you keep going
Hmm.
out and leaving your, scarlet letter on everybody else, stop.
Yes.
Stop and address that mark that is on you. Where does it come from? How do we heal it? How do we, like you said, it may never ever go away. It will, like those expensive I think it's Chinese art where they take like broken broken teacups and stuff like that, and they fill it in with gold. Like, go
Okay.
ahead and heal. Like, we still gonna know those cracks are there, but you have healed those things. You have worked on those things to be in a healthy and whole and a happy relationship. Don't come
Yes.
in here with some, that's just the way I am.
That's toxic,
Yeah,
because you want somebody to just accept, what, wherever you are. So that's just saying to me that you don't feel like you need to improve, and you're just not going to do it.
yeah.
And so
And the
that
change too.
also that also opens me up to make a decision. Do I want to accept you the way you are? Is that something that I can see myself being in a long-term relationship with you and being happy and healthy in my own mind? And if I can't, then I have decision that I can just walk away from that if that's just who you are.
And when that decision is made, we need to make that decision based on exactly what it is today. Like you use the word that I often use, not romanticizing it, not seeing the potential of what it may or may not be.
Yes,
This individual, who they are, how they are right here, right now.
yes.
Is this what you want your future aligned with? Is this what you want to endure for
Hmm.
however long you expect this relationship to be? If it's just a casual thing and you are not planning on being committed to this person and
Yeah.
you feel like you can endure it, then go ahead. But if it's something that you know you will not be able to tolerate, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, it's okay to cut bait right now and say, you know what, this is not for me. And if you go
Hmm.
ahead and get healthy and happy and whole, and we happen to
Hmm.
cross paths again, we can
Yes.
revisit it. But as you are today, right now, and that's something that I've missed the mark on numerous times in the past because,
Hmm.
like I said, I base things off of the potential of somebody. And
Yep.
rather than seeing them for who they are today, you want to hope that they will see the goodness of what you see in them, and know, that potential will be actualized at some point, Meanwhile, you still stuck with the same person, if not worse, than what you got with 5 years ago. All
And a
because,
lot of times we're visualizing in our mind who we think this person can be in 5 years, but in actuality, they've never told us this.
nope,
They've never said that this is who I want to be in 5 years. We just seen it in our mind that I can mold them, and if I just work with them and love them enough, I can make them into that person.
child, we done wrote up a whole business plan for this person and that they know
Yes,
nothing about. Like we
they
got
don't know
all the
nothing
documents like,
about
no,
it.
this is what you in 3 years, this is exactly who you will be. And it's
Right.
like
I ain't tell you all
I ain't
that.
want that. I had no parts in this at all. Like
Yes.
I didn't even get the rough draft of this. You just handed this to me. It been notarized and everything. I can't do this.
Yes.
But again, this is the things that in the beginning stages we want to overlook, glaring things that we know are not what we want for ourselves. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of of ignoring that red flag
Red
of
flags.
who is this person and what do I want out of them. you know do I want something just for now? And if it's something that's
Yeah.
just for now, compartmentalize that. Oh, he is in this box and this is it.
Hmm.
Let's not start fantasizing about him like, oh, well, I thought he was only, and then we moved him down here. No, he's still over there. That's where
Yeah.
he knows he is, and he's fine
Yes.
right there. So you need to be fine with him being right there as well. Not
Yes.
creating this entire new, fantastical world with this person, and they didn't even buy a plane ticket for it. They sitting there
Um,
like, nah, I just plan on sitting on the bench the whole time. I'm good.
Honey, I have been the queen of running right past red flags and going right into the danger zone. And so I know all about them red flags now. And a lot of people, I coach women on the knowing the difference in between the red flags and your triggers, because sometimes a red flag and the trigger is one and the same,
Yeah.
because you might have gone through this situation and you've survived it. You recognize what this looks like now. And so many women will start to second guess themselves. They're like, I don't know if I'm just judging him because of my past relationship, or is it just, my stuff still coming up. But some things are just red flags played out,
Yeah.
plain as day, to anybody, no matter if they've gone through that situation or not. Red flags are red flags.
Yeah.
And
But
some of the major red flags are, for me in dating, is when a man is totally negative about all of his past relationships, and it's always the other person's fault. They never take any accountability for the breakdown of the relationship, and they have all kinds of negative things to say about their ex. It's like, but at one point in time, this was a person that you loved, you cared about. So all of them can't be terrible. So I think you feeding me, maybe you might be feeding me a little BS here. So
yeah,
that's a
who's
red
the common
flag.
denominator of all 8 relationships? The common
Yes.
denominator is you, and it can't be that all 8 of them were.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
I pride myself on being a rather thorough type person, but like even like you have to acknowledge, even in the I feel like even in any relationship, right? You can always find where you could have been better, where
Yes.
you could have done something different, done something more, even if it was you recognizing at the very beginning that
Mm-hmm.
this person was not for you. There was
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with them, but you decided that um you wanted to set yourself up with somebody that was not what you wanted in
Mm-hmm.
reality, right?
Yep.
So you even take ownership that that's somebody I shouldn't have even been with. I shouldn't have agreed to be in a committed relationship 2 weeks after meeting this guy.
Yeah.
Like there's something somewhere along the way that you can look back and say, oh, I should have done that a little bit differently. And
Mm-hmm.
another point that's being made is, whenever they're lying or lying by blatantly lying or
Yep.
lying by omission,
Yep.
when it comes to important information about having some random children running around the neighborhood. You know them babies might be yours. There has
Yeah.
not been a DNA test. However, you know that the entire neighborhood says he's bow-legged just like you. So
Exactly.
let's have that
Lying
let's
by
have that
omission.
conversation. Let's talk about it. Granted, it may or may not be true, but whenever
Mhm.
there are when there's vital information to who you are and your this comment that just came up, child. I
Oh
can't.
Lord, still living with your ex-wife. Oh my goodness. Oh
Baby,
no,
no,
we're not even about to do it.
no, no. But the thing, there's all sorts of crazy, crazy things that, that happen in relationships, and this is the truth.
Mhm.
Like, there was a guy who was telling me, we were getting to know each other, and I said, okay, so what happened with your last relationship? And he was like, oh, well, she was still living with her ex-husband. I was like, what? He said, yeah, she was still living with her ex-husband, and she kept saying that she was gonna move out, and 2 months later, I said, hold on, you went through 2 months of
Two
that?
months.
I said, so 2 months. I said, so in the process of those 2 months, like, were you driving up to her husband's house, her ex-husband's house, to pick her up
Right.
to go on dates? Were you dropping her off, like where she is, like whenever you're on the
How
phone
this
with her?
works.
I
You
I don't.
know,
He said, yeah. He said, well, I never ever went over there. She would always, come over to his place or whatever. But I was just like, yeah, I couldn't believe he even allowed it to go on for 2 months. To me, like,
exactly.
that would have been, I would have been like, you know what? I feel like y'all, y'all got some stuff going on, that, and those are one of those things that, no, you can't heal and be whole along the way in a relationship with me, because you still basically got, your family with your ex-husband, like that. You How do you heal along the way from that?
I
So
just,
folks, going back to what we talked about earlier, that is an obvious one.
yeah.
You're not healing along the way. Let them go and
Hmm.
finish off that chapter, and then
Yeah.
we can reconvene and see if things will work out. But
Yes. And
so
a lot of these dating situations, you just have to, and see, this is something that people don't grasp onto, but you have to treat dating just like you're going to look for a job. Just like you have to treat it like everything else. What you focus on grows. What you practice, the skills that you practice, you get better at. Dating is a skill that has to be developed, and weeding out people who are not for you, that's a skill that you have to develop. And you have to have a concrete list of things that you will and will not tolerate. You definitely have to have some guidelines that you meet people and vet people by. I have a personal guideline. Like, if I meet a man who has been single for shorter than a year, I don't want to touch that, because there's still some residual stuff there. And the way I gauge it is by myself.
mhm.
I know that I need a good year to just get all of the residuals from my last relationship out of my system to be able to be even open enough to date somebody without, having baggage or whatever. And so if that's good for me, then I'm going to gauge everybody else by that. I know everybody's timeline is different, but that's just safe for me to be able to a starting point. Now, once I do meet someone, and if they've been single for longer than a year, but then I see other stuff that they still haven't done any work on themselves since they've been single, or they still holding on to stuff, or they still have a lot of baggage, then I will start from there and start to vet them out from that. But the good starting point for me is, have you been single for a year or longer? Okay, now we can go to the next step. But you
Uh,
have to have some concrete guidelines for yourself.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because I've been one of those people that spent, especially like the early portion of my life. Once I started having a boyfriend, it was almost like I was never single. Like
Hmm.
relationship to relationship to relationship. which, I think stunted my own possibilities because,
Mm-hmm.
I never really had time to just be with myself and to come
Mm-hmm.
out with those, concrete, well, these are the things that I know I want. And these are the things that these are my non-negotiables, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I didn't have the time to do that until, I would say within like the last 6 years of my life, I've been able to actually sit and focus on what, what those things look like for me.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to that timeline of being single, the way I look at it is it depends on how long the relationship was, right?
That
Because if you
too.
were in a relationship for 10 years, I don't
Yeah.
see you being okay going, just jumping right on into another relationship. But
No.
if you were in a relationship with someone for a year and, you're single probably for about like 6 months, maybe it depends on like the
Mm-hmm.
depth of that relationship. Like, what did
Right.
that relationship look like? So
Yeah.
I, those are the things that I, now I kind of take into consideration is,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so your last relationship, how long was it? When did you split
Right.
up? Oh, you split up,
Yes.
2 weeks ago? Why are you in my inbox?
Exactly. You're
Right?
just trying to fill a void. You're trying to pass time, or maybe a lot of people do this. They're in competition with their ex to see who can move on first.
Yeah.
My ex-wife got a new boyfriend, and I don't want to look like, I haven't moved on, so I'm gonna start dating too when you're not really ready.
I'm
You
glad
know,
you
I,
brought up the exes though, because another thing that I think leads to unhealthy relationships is poor boundaries with exes. And
ooh,
I get co-parenting. I completely understand it. But I also recognize that they are no longer my husbands, right? They are
yes.
no longer my partner. Um, in my case, like I said, husband, but your partner, whatever. That's not your person anymore. So you calling them at 3 o'clock in the morning just because you're up is not okay.
That's inappropriate.
You just popping up is not okay. If
No.
y'all have set custody things or whatever, try to stick to that. Try to make sure that, like I said, that you're maintaining those healthy boundaries. And what I recognize is that you have a lot of people who say, well, that's the mother of my son, or that's, the father of my daughters. You're not getting in between that. No, it's not about me, and nobody will get between it because you are not setting healthy boundaries. It's not saying
Yes.
that you can't co-parent. You can still co-parent, but y'all still have to have separate lives. You can still be
Hmm.
friends, but
Yep.
there's boundaries that need to be had. And I'll go even as far as your friends. um I'm one, like, I have a lot of guy friends. I have a lot of guy friends who actually have spouses.
Hmm.
I'm not calling my guy friends in the middle of the night. I'm not
Exactly.
hanging on them. Like, I'm not going up to them saying, oh, do these jeans look better on my ass, or do these? Like, I'm not doing that
Right.
because there's a certain level of respect that
Respect and
you
boundaries.
exactly, you put those boundaries. And if I know that a guy has, other, women friends, or an ex-wife or ex-girlfriend that they're still cordial with, or whatever, or they have a co-parenting situation, I'm not threatened by that at all. What I
Right.
am uncomfortable with is poor boundaries, because I know that
Hmm.
it is possible to still raise healthy and whole, mature and loving children while having those boundaries. And if those
Exactly.
boundaries are not in place, you're asking for problems, you're asking for issues. And like you said, if that's something that you can live with, go forth and
Hmm.
do it. But
Yes.
if you know that you want the sanctity of your own relationship, and they
Hmm.
have an issue with establishing boundaries, you
Yep.
might want to revisit that
Mhm.
idea with them.
Exactly. And that's something that needs to be taught more and really talked about more, because so many people find themselves in what they uncomfortable situations because they want to keep the relationship cordial with their baby mama or baby daddy, but they do want to move on and date, and they're so afraid that the ex is going to be jealous or going to try to cause problems. So then they try to blur the lines. They want to make everybody happy, but you got to make clear cut boundaries for the ex and the new person, you cannot let them bleed over into each other. And if you're not steadfast and confident enough in yourself to create those boundaries, then you probably should not be dating nobody.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Then there's some wholeness that needs to happen on your part,
Hmm.
and that wholeness might not happen until your baby is 18 and out your house. Now, if
I
you want
know
to hold,
some people just they don't they're like, I'm gonna wait till my child is out of the house and graduated high school to start dating. I'm like, well, more power to you, baby. I'm not waiting that long.
but I will say, like, I had a period of time where I was just like, and that's where I went through the more casual phase
Yeah.
of my dating, because I didn't feel like bringing somebody into my world while I was
Hmm.
trying to, especially with my daughters. They were
Yes.
going into high school, and I was just like, I don't need them trying to figure out their own selves as young women, and then they got to figure out mommy's boyfriend. Like,
Right.
no.
Right.
So I just, I didn't want to play around with that idea. But now with them getting ready to leave out of the house, like, yes, I want my person. But
Right.
but it is something that people really need to think about. Like, if you are not able to establish boundaries in a healthy manner to where you can continue to maintain, keep all of these hats on, right? My
Hmm.
mom is not showing up to my job. It doesn't make my mom any less of my mom, but she's
Right.
not going to show up to my job. Why? Because that's not okay for you to do that. If you
Right.
need me at work, call, if it's an emergency, sure, call me. But
Yes.
if it can wait till later, let it wait until a more appropriate time. It's the exact same thing with, friendship relationships or co-parenting relationships. It doesn't mean that I don't want to co-parent with you. It means that there's a time and a place for us to be
Yes.
able to co-parent. And there's a way for us to go about effectively co-parenting that does not diminish your role as a mother, my role as a
Hmm.
father, or this child's place in our life, or my girlfriend or my boyfriend's place in my life as well. So
Hmm.
these, I think, again, yeah, those are signs that people need to pay attention to at the beginning of relationships. Is this person able to establish healthy boundaries when it comes to anybody in their lives? Because if
Yeah.
you have your relationship, they should want to protect that relationship. They should want to, like you said, whatever you focus on, they should want to be able to give that its own little bucket
Hmm.
to be able to be nurtured and to water it and to love it and let it blossom into whatever it is that it's going to be. And if they are unable to do that, then you might not want to
Yes.
engage with that person.
No, because it's really it's an individual thing because you can just be a single person not dating anybody and still be a person that's bad at setting boundaries for your own life.
Yeah,
Even with friends and family, you don't know how to create healthy boundaries where you don't feel taken advantage of, you don't feel like you give more than you get in these relationships. That's a personal problem that you have to deal with yourself
yeah,
first before you start even getting in relationships. So if you're a people pleaser, if you're worried more about how other people perceive you and if people like you than you like more than you like yourself, then that's a self problem,
yeah.
and you have to set healthy boundaries for your own life and then bring other people into it.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it that way. I mean, you bring up a really, really good point, is that oftentimes people who have an issue setting boundaries in relationships, they have an issue setting boundaries in their own individual lives. So
Mhm.
that's, probably not probably, but that is a telltale sign in and of itself. If you watch this person or of this person already and how they manage their lives, pay attention to, do they know how to set
Mhm.
healthy boundaries for themselves? Because we should
Mhm.
all have healthy boundaries around ourselves as an
Mhm.
individual. So yeah, you're right. See, I'm glad you said it that way. I'm learning some things. I'm learning some
Yes.
things.
I've
But
been paying attention. I pay attention to, like, when I'm dating a guy, I pay attention to how he treats himself and, like, some of the questions that I ask is trying to dig into, like, when he makes promises to himself, does he keep those promises? Because that tells me that you're the type of person who's just in the habit of doing what you say and saying what you were going to do, and not so much are you keeping your promises to me, because that doesn't matter in the long run it's always going to come back to yourself. And do you
Yeah.
keep your own promises to yourself? And do you care about yourself? And then that's going to bleed over into our relationship.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Taking me a little bit of notes. No, but like, but I pay attention to the things that, even on your IG page, the little, nuggets of wisdom that you put out. Y'all, she giving out free information. So go to her
Come
page,
get
click
this
on it.
free information.
Hey, listen, because something, other folks out there paying for it. I know odds are I'm probably paying my therapist for, some of the similar stuff, but
Yeah.
that's what insurance is for. Um, but no, so now, we've talked about, and I think we kind of meshed it all together, what
Mhm.
the unhealthy stuff looks like, what healthy interactions look like, because of the fact that we're talking about what the unhealthy way is,
Mhm.
comparably the alternative, the healthy way is, like you said, don't come into these relationships broken. Get your act together. If you don't have your
Mhm.
act together, at least acknowledge and recognize where your act is not together, where your house is
Right.
not in order, and be working to get those things, taken care of. Bring the 100% of you to the
Mhm.
table. Bring as much of you to the table as possible, because you can't expect somebody else to fill in those blanks, fill in
Right.
those gaps of who you are. um as far as like the setup of, you know like I said, I went through the season of, I wasn't really looking for a real relationship. And now that I am, I know that I have to position myself. When I said earlier, I didn't cut everybody off. I meant that, because the way I described it is, you know, all of that was entertainment,
Yes.
and I can't have the clowns filling the seat of the person that I actually want to come and sit here. So, you know, appreciate your time. Thank you. Good
Right.
day.
Right.
Good day. And
Yes.
so we just gonna go ahead and, dust the seat off and let it sit there. And whoever is actually supposed to be there, you know,
Yes.
there will actually be space for them. And when I
Right.
talk about that space, it's, mentally being ready for it, emotionally being ready for it, spiritually being ready for what it is that I'm saying that I desire and deserve.
Mhm.
So I'm already taking those steps for myself. But when as a relationship coach and a dating coach, what are some of the things that recommend to people, if you're at a place to where you want to go into committed relationships, like you're looking for certain things? No, you cannot sit with us. His seat is taken. But
Yes.
what is it that you think, or what is it that you recommend that women, and I guess this could apply to men as well, but what is it that they should be doing if they are, at a place where they want, a committed relationship, or the relationship of their desire?
Yeah. Yeah. I recommend just getting out there, dating, meeting people, making new
With your mask
friendships.
on right now, because COVID is still real.
Yeah, I know, right? COVID is still real. I was out the other day and I was looking at people in the drugstore and nobody really had on a mask. And I was like, okay, what are we doing?
Really?
No, there was three people standing in front of me in the line and neither one of them had masks on.
Okay,
So,
so if you look, so I mean, you said, so go out there and date. If COVID is still happening, make sure
mhm.
you still got your mask on, because these are strangers. They might have cooties. So what's some
I'm
what's
a
some other
big
thing?
I'm a big advocate of online dating. I know a lot of people are kind of apprehensive about online dating, but I've really met a lot of great guys through
This
online
great.
dating. It's the safe alternative right now than going out there and letting people breathe on you.
You basically letting them breathe on. Okay, when you put it that way, uh,
Right.
I guess when
Now
you put it that way, then fine.
Bumble
But
is a nice app. There's a lot of, quality men on there who are not looking to play games. They're really looking for relationships. And there's a lot of features on there like video chatting. So you can try to like get to know the person's personality before even meeting them in person. And they have a lot of little neat games on there that you can play with other members to try to get to know each other before even meeting them in person. I've met a couple of nice guys on Bumble. So that's a good way to just start it out. I guess you've had a bad experience with online dating.
I never. So I, I'm trying to say, fuck it. I'll say how I'm gonna say it. I get a lot of interaction, a lot of traction, a lot of
Uh-huh.
dates. But you know, listen, people who have followed me, especially on Facebook, they know the struggles. Like these dudes, it's like, oh, everything is all great and well, and then as soon as we actually meet, they like, so when can you have my babies? Wait, what?
Oh,
And like,
it's like that?
oh, they are immediately like, trying to jump straight into bed. I had a situation where one
Wow.
was trying to, get busy with his son in the bed with right next to me. Uh, listen.
Ah! Girl!
I'm retired from dating apps. I'm a firm believer. I believe that maybe because I have an old fashioned heart and
Yeah.
I have the old school, traditional values that I look for in these, simple, simplistic love relationships. That
Yeah.
maybe online is not for me because there's just, mm, yeah. I
Well,
mean,
we gonna scratch the online.
we could. I'm telling you, look, we could go an entire other hour of me just
Yes.
telling you about the dates that I've had just since COVID and
Oh,
how bad they've
really?
been. Yes, it has been terrible. So, but I will also say, I have some friends, I have people in my social circle who have met their spouses in online dating, and they've been married for, I have some of one of them, she just had her 7 year anniversary. So
Wow.
I know it's possible. I just don't
Yeah.
think it's possible for me. So I'm gonna
For
go ahead
you.
and be the old fashioned girl and just
And you're gonna meet
date.
them in the grocery store?
Probably not because I'll be too focused. I don't know where I'm gonna meet him at because I won't date anybody that I work with. I won't date anybody at the gym. I don't like talking to people when I'm shopping. I'm gonna just go ahead and get me some cats to match my dogs.
No, no, Tasha, no. We're not gonna be the cat lady. No.
No, I feel like uh, when it's supposed to happen to me, it's gonna happen. But I don't want to knock anybody who is paying attention to this. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
that online dating does not work because I know for a fact it does work because I have friends and people in my social circle who have met their partners, who have met their spouses in online dating, and everything has been great. Everything from them connecting to somebody randomly through Facebook friends
Yeah.
to, meeting somebody, somebody that was supposed to have a hookup on Tinder, and
Yeah.
that hookup has lasted 3 years. So, so I know it's possible. So get out
Yeah.
there and date. You get out there and oh.
And date multiple people. The dating phase is not relationship, it's not commitment, it's just fun and it's gathering data. You're gathering data about the different people, the different options that are out there. You're also learning more about yourself, what you do want, what you don't want. And then in that process, you might make some friends. But that I wish I would have dated in my 20s instead of just getting straight out of college and getting married and having kids. That was my focus, is just getting tied down and being a wife and being a mother. And I hadn't had any experience with actually seeing what's all out there.
Yeah.
So now, since I am single, divorced, and dating in my 40s, I've done a lot of dating in the last 5 years. So I've learned a whole lot about myself. I've learned what I do want, what I don't want. And then I want women to also understand that once you do get really specific about who is right for you in your life and what you're looking for in a partner, that's going to dwindle down your dating choices a whole lot. And see, a lot of women get frustrated because they feel like there's not enough choices for them to choose from. But that's a good thing because you've narrowed it down.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're not good with too many choices, because if you got too many choices, then you're like, which one do I choose? I don't want to, I like him, I like him, I like him.
So
So
I
once
think I
you
may
get
have messed up.
specific,
I have narrowed it down to 0.
no. I ain't gonna lie, I went through that period where I was like, I guess he's not really out there, because I'm not meeting him. I'm meeting duds. I'm not meeting. Then you go to second guessing your standards, and you want to try to see, well, maybe I'm being a little too strict. No, that's not it.
No.
That's not it.
I
Stick
will
to it.
get a set of cats before I change my standards. I'm not.
Exactly. I'm not
I'm
doing
not.
that. I'm
Oh,
not lowering my standards. Did that enough in the past.
and and I feel like uh, people say it a lot, like especially if you scroll through social media and whenever people are talking about relationship goals and stuff like that,
Hmm.
you'll see people say the bar is in hell, and they're basically saying like we have lowered, and I'm not even going to say as far as men or women are concerned, just in general, the dating game, the bar is in hell. And what they're talking about is we've started to glorify mediocrity. We've started to glorify
Hmm.
simplicity. We've started to glorify bare minimum.
Hmm. And
No.
and we've started to glorify, in this age of internet and social media and showing, being a show off, we glorify what looks good from the outside. Ooh, they look so good together. Ooh, they were a power couple. Ooh, and then when these couples break up, and that just breaks our hearts and let us down, like, this wasn't built on anything of substance. You can't have these celebrities as your relationship goals, because you're only seeing what they're showing you from the outside. It looks good, it looks cute, they dress nice and all of that, but that's not relationship goals. Relationship goals is working on yourself, working together with that person, and just choosing each other every day, and getting better work, and having a purpose. You have to have your individual purpose, and then your relationship has to have a purpose.
Mhm.
If you and that person are not coming together for a specific purpose, there's no real relationship.
Yeah.
What are y'all working towards? What are y'all driving towards? That what is something that you can do with that person that you could not do as an individual? And that's
Exactly.
going to marry you together and tie y'all together in y'all's purpose. But just getting together because y'all look good for the cameras and for the gram, that's not the right way,
Yeah, because I
to think of
realized
it.
I just wanted some arm candy, but then it was like, oh no, he actually got to serve a purpose. I was like, really? Like, because
Really? That's
he
what we
looks
gotta
great. He
do?
makes me look better. No, but and the way I talk about it now is, I want my person. And when I say I want my person, is that I want that person that I build the rest of my life with, that I can, that I grow with. That is the person that I, come home from work to, that I can talk about whatever is going on in my day. I can, whatever goals and aspirations I have, they are my go-to. Whatever goals and aspirations he has, he can come to me and we can work together to collectively
Hmm.
make those things happen. But it I think when people are younger, that purpose is, for a lot of people, I need this person because I want a family, because I
Yeah.
want, that I want to live a certain life. I want to have a certain type of family, all this other stuff. And now, like you and I in our 40s, I mean, you might still be trying to have babies. I'm not. I'm already struggling with this daggone dog.
No.
So that's not, but like the purpose is like having that friendship, having that person that, for the I guess the back end of my life,
Yeah.
I can go ahead and build that stuff with and have those experiences with. So there's so much more to getting into a relationship than, like you said, people just looking on social media and seeing, oh, they look good together.
Hmm.
It's so much more beyond that. And I think we
Yeah.
really need to just all, take the time as the individuals and see what is it that we are bringing to a relationship, the good, the bad, the ugly, and
Yes.
what is it that we desire to have in, have that relationship look like? And if we know what we want that relationship to look like, that's going to help us determine what we're looking for in a partner, what we're looking for
Exactly.
in our potential mates. So, Erica,
Yes.
I completely appreciate you taking this time to chit chat. Can you just, give us the little rundown again at the end so people know who you are, where they can find you, and what services you offer?
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me. My business is called Coach E's Life Coaching Services. You can follow me right here on Instagram. I post, maybe twice a day. My website is www.coache-lifecoaching.com. And again, I do individual coaching sessions with women for self-love, life purpose, dating coaching, and breakup recovery. And I also have a mastermind group, so it's a community of women. We do group coaching and live Q&A sessions in the group, and you can request personalized training topics of something that you want, to be trained on specifically in the group. And that is Coach E's Mastermind Group. So when you go to my website, you can sign up for that. There's a 7-day free trial, so you can just try it out and see if you like it. And then if you don't, you can cancel. But if you want to stay with us, it's a $35 a month fee, and you're going to get way more than your $35 a month for all of the content that we share in there and all the support that you get in there. And then you get to connect and network with other like-minded women in the group. And that's me.
Okay. Well, again, like I said, thank you very much. One of these days, whenever I make it back down to Louisiana, I'm gonna have to connect with you and actually
Yes,
grab some coffee, grab a drink, grab some food, whatever it is.
I
But
would love it.
yes, thank you so much again for joining us this week for the live chat. I will not be having a chat next week, but I will reconvene the second week in April. But anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I will see y'all in 2 weeks.
Good night.
Good night.